I'm Princess X. This is my house. It is haunted, but I love it anyway. All the ghosts are very nice. We are all good friends. I rule a kingdom called Silverdale all by myself. Here are the Painted Desert. Here's River Park Farms, Swamp of Memories, Capital Town, Cloudland Mountains, and there's my house. My parents aren't dead or anything. They're just retired. It's a lot of work being the princess, but it's mostly fun. Libby and May did not leave Princess X on the sidewalk. They took her home, and together they built an imaginary empire. The princess's haunted house sat atop a hill, surrounded by an impenetrable iron fence as thick as a labyrinth hedge. From there, she fought monsters, ghosts, and other unsavory invaders wherever she encountered them. May wrote a lot, and Libby drew a lot, and by their last year of middle school, they created an entire library dedicated to Princess X. The stories filled big, fat notebooks, huge spiral notebooks, sketchbooks, shoeboxes, crates, and reusable grocery bags. They archived this vast collection at Libby's house. Libby's dad was an engineer at Microsoft, and they had a house not far from Millionaire's Row, so she had a big bedroom with a big closet, and that's where everything went. May lived with her parents in a small apartment in an old building from back when a bedroom held nothing but a bed. She was always the shortest one in the class, always cheaply dressed, with straight brown hair and the thick lens glasses that she hated. When she got teased about them, she said they were so strong she could see into the future, and the power persisted even after she traded the glasses for contacts. Libby, on the other hand, looked like a Forever 21 model by the time she was 12. She wore dangling earrings and designer jeans, and she was naturally cool. So cool, she told everyone her grandma was a ninja, and everyone believed her. Except that Libby's old mom came from Japan and said there weren't any ninjas anymore. She also said that the real reason Libby's grandmother never came to visit was Libby's dad, since he wasn't from Japan. He was born someplace else, wherever white people came from, and there wasn't much Libby could do about that. So she drew a lot of stories about ninjas because she could do something about ninjas, probably, if she ever met any. Neither May nor Libby ever quite made any other good friends because they didn't need any other good friends. They played a lot of video games, read a lot of comics, watched a lot of TV, and ate a lot of junk food. They climbed on the troll statue out in Fremont, taking selfies under the neon artwork of ballroom dancers, rocket ships, and diving ladies in old-fashioned swimming caps. They did each other's homework and sat up late with flashlights under the covers, downloading dirty books onto Libby's e-reader and giggling madly until they got caught. They spent their allowances on arm warmers, magazines, and hot chocolate at their favorite local joint, Black Taza, pretending it was coffee so that they feel like grown-ups. But even with all the regular real-life stuff, they still found time for Princess X, dragging their binders to the coffee shop and reading out their notes, making up character sheets for all the good guys, bad guys, and other assorted guys who populated the country of Silverdale. The princess became their alter ego, their avatar, their third best friend. One day on the sidewalk in front of Pacific Place Mall, Libby got hollered at by a wild-eyed white guy with a crazy sign that listed all the reasons America was going to hell. The sign was particularly concerned about how everyone was marrying everyone else, and soon America wouldn't have any black, white, yellow, or red people anymore, just gray ones. May called the sign waver stupid and said, anyway, gray is a great color, especially in Seattle. Everyone around here, gray's practically patriotic. Heck yeah, gray's a great color, Libby said, mustering a smile. Just look at me, I make gray look cool. A few weeks after that, they took a standardized test at school. One of the questions asked for the student's race, and Libby wrote in gray next to the line that came after other. The teacher gave her a fresh sheet and made her do that part over. He said that when Libby grew up, she could call herself anything she wanted, but on the test, she'd have to pick one of the ovals and fill it in, even if it wasn't quite right. But of course, Libby didn't grow up. She died in Salmon Bay instead, supposedly. Mrs. Deaton fell asleep while she was driving Libby home from gymnastics. She drove off the Ballard Bridge, and it took the search and rescue people 2 days to find the car. And when they did, Mrs. Deaton's body was still strapped into the driver's seat, but Libby was missing. Her backpack was lying on the floor in the back passenger seat, and her window was broken out. For years, May would dream that Libby had escaped, that she'd somehow kicked free of the sinking car and clawed her way to the surface through the night black water, cold as a soda from the fridge. The city lights sparkling above her like stars, leading her up, leading her out. She'd burst through the surface of the bay, her soaked hair spilling down her shoulders like a mermaid's, trailing behind her as she swam toward home. And then May always woke up cold and tired, crying, because that wasn't what happened at all. What happened was they found Libby's body a couple weeks later, lapping slowly, squishily against a sailboat at a nearby marina. She was half destroyed by the nibbles of sea creatures and swollen with water. Unrecognizable to anyone, she was identified by her clothes and the soggy student ID in her back pocket. If they'd only let her see Libby's body, May might have never had those dreams, she thought. She might have never picked up her old glasses, wearing them to bed at night in case she could see something better than in case she could see something better than the future. She could see the past, too, if she'd only gotten a glimpse of what was left of her best friend. Her imagination would have lied with that same stupid dream of Libby's escape over and over again, year after year. Sometimes she'd go for a few months without it and almost forget, and then the dream would sneak up on her, and she'd sit up shocked and shaking, her so perfectly confident that she'd seen Libby. And she was alive, swimming to freedom, swimming to May, reaching for her outstretched hand, almost grabbing it, and then sinking back into Salmon Bay because May didn't wear glasses anymore, and fortunes were just stories that weren't ever true in the first place. There was a funeral, closed casket, Natch. May tried to pry the coffin open when no one was looking, but they'd already locked that sucker down. Maybe everyone knew her better than she thought. They'd buried Libby beside her mother in a distant suburb, so May couldn't visit her very often, and the last time she went, she knew she probably wouldn't be back again any time soon, or maybe ever. While her parents bickered quietly behind some tombstones and trees, May whispered to Libby as loudly as she dared. "My parents are probably getting a divorce," she told her. It felt weird to say it out loud because her parents hadn't said it out loud yet. That didn't matter. She could see it coming from a mile away. She sat down cross-legged beside the grave, still lumpy and fresh, with just a smattering of new grass growing all scraggly over the top. She picked at the young green blades, pulling them one by one and dropping them into a little pile. "If they do get a divorce, or when they do, I guess, I'll probably have to go back to Atlanta with my mom." She barely breathed the words because she'd cried if they got any louder. "I'll have to go to a new school, and that's really going to freak me out. I don't know what I'll do if I have to share a locker with somebody else." She swallowed hard. "Our locker, yours and mine, it's just like you left it. Your dad never asked for any of our stuff back, so I just kept it there. I hope that's okay." Libby's biology textbook with all her notes stuffed inside, her gym clothes in a cotton bag, all lumpy where her sneakers were stuffed down inside it, her water bottle, her iPad. "When school's out, I'll just take it all home with me. I'm not trying to steal your stuff." She let out a shaky little laugh that threatened to turn into a sob. "I just won't let anybody throw it away, that's all. I wish I could just leave it like it is, like maybe put some kind of memorial plaque on it or something." Her parents' voices got louder, and it didn't sound as though they were arguing anymore, just talking. And coming back for May, on the one hand, she was annoyed. On the other hand, at least she didn't have to tell Libby about losing Princess X. She wasn't sure she could say that part, even to a ghost. It was hard just to think about it. It happened like this. A week after the funeral, May's mom drove her over to the Deaton house one last time, but Mr. Deaton wasn't home. Nobody was there except the housekeeper, Anna, and she was wiping down bone-clean counters and sweeping prehistoric Cheerios out from under the refrigerator. The place was empty, no furniture, not even any curtains. May ran past Anna up to Libby's old room and threw open the closet door where the Princess X archive was kept. "Sweetheart, I'm sorry," the housekeeper told her gently once she'd caught up. I'm sorry, she said again, but everything is gone. Mr. Deaton had quit his job, packed a suitcase, and set off for Michigan, where he'd grown up. He'd hired a company to empty the house in the wake, donating everything to Value Village or Goodwill. Then he'd tossed Anna the keys and told her to clean it up for the realtors. He wasn't coming back, and neither was Princess X. Frantic May demanded that her mother shuttle her to every thrift store in King County, and she was loud and crazy enough with her mom. She was loud and crazy enough that her mom obliged her. Or else her dad did, because that way her parents didn't have to spend any time together. They'd rather babysit their daughter through a nervous breakdown than face each other over supper. May never did find those boxes filled with Princess X adventures. Comic strips and Cadillac cutouts of things the princess might wear or places she might go. Her parents never patched it up. They went ahead and split a few months later. Her dad stayed in Seattle, and her mom took her back to live in Atlanta most of the year, with summer and alternating holidays back in the Northwest. So her accent got southern again, and she was often cold and lonely. And Libby was dead. Princess X disappeared. May lost her best friend again and again and again.